Hello, everyone. This call is being recorded. Welcome to the presenter series for IACT and IMDHA. And tonight it's a little different. I am here solo. I'm Karen Hand, and I'm usually with Michael Watson. And Michael this evening is on a flight back from LA. He has been at the International Hypnosis Federation retreat out in California. He was the keynote speaker, and he did core transformation while he was out there with our friend Shelley Stockwell-Nicholas. And he is on his way back tonight, but I am sitting in, and I'm going to do my level best to do as good a job, or at least try to meet up to Michael Watson's high standards. So I realize that we have a couple of announcements to make, and then we'll get started straight away. I'm doing that in my best British I can. We'll get started straight away with Sheila Granger in just a moment. The IACT IMDHA conference, as you know, is May 18th, 19th, and 20th in Daytona Beach, Florida. And this presenter series is to talk to pre- and post-conference presenters and people with day-long presentations. And Sheila's presentation is the let's see. I have it written here someplace. Sheila, you can drop that in if you'd like to.
It's the 2 days before. It's a pre-conference.
The 2 days before, so that's going to be the 6th.
No, it's not. That's allowed.
It's after. It's the 21st and 22nd. Yes. Okay. It is the 21st and 22nd. And, like I said, this might be a little rough, but you guys are just going to have to play along with me. What I have done here is muted all the microphones for now. At the end, we'll try to leave time for some questions, and we'll then unmute those mics. Throughout the evening, you can always go down to that bar right along the bottom of your screen, and there is a chat room. You can type in questions. There is also a participants view, and you can raise your hand there. So if you have questions, either type them in and I'll try to get them to Sheila as quickly as possible, or at the end I'll make time for you. We will also, this is a presentation of the virtual chapter. Michael and I host the virtual chapter meetings on the second Tuesday of the month, every month. And so this is an offshoot of that. And we'll be doing these presenters interviews every Wednesday through April 11th. So join us every Wednesday if you can, and you can get ICUs, or you can get CEUs, not the ICU. We don't want you in intensive care. You can get CEUs, continuing education units, for IACT and or IMDHA, simply by signing on after tonight, and you can get an hour and a half of CEUs for joining us tonight, because we want to reward you for joining in. We are recording, so be sure that you don't do anything on your camera that you wouldn't want the world to see, or say anything if we unmute the mics. I think I have done all of the announcements now, Sheila, and I think Michael will be proud. What I do want to say is Sheila Granger is joining us tonight, and she's just won a big award that we're going to talk about in just a moment. But let me tell you a little bit about Sheila. She gained her certification as a clinical hypnotherapist in the UK with the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council about 8 years ago, and has already been recognized by the India Times as Britain's leading hypnotist. How about that? She's appeared on national television, on BBC News. She's a popular speaker at conferences and universities, and she's trained over 2,500 practitioners in 9 countries. How about that? She's most known, of course, for the Virtual Gastric Band program, and she takes hypnosis to new heights in education and in business. So we want to talk to her about a lot of that. But Sheila, if you don't mind, first tell me about this brand new award that you got.
Yes, you've even got it in the box next to me.
Yay.
One of my big things with hypnosis is to get it as recognised as possible, both in the public eye, but also against other businesses, that we are a business as well, and we want to be recognised as such and be really proud of our profession. So the more I can get hypnosis out there, the better. And I got notified that I'd been shortlisted for a business award. It was under a category of, there was 2 categories I got shortlisted for. Exporter of the Year, so that's to do with delivering hypnosis by these type of means, via Zoom, the trainings, all those type of things. And then also in product innovation as well. And as these were business awards, you know, it was a great thing to be even shortlisted. I thought, fantastic, I can't believe it, I've been shortlisted. You know, I went away to this lovely lunch do today and was absolutely blown away that I'd got Exporter of the Year. So,
terrific.
You know, I was really, really thrilled with that. Really thrilled with that.
You really just took this by storm. I mean, you must have just fallen in love with hypnosis from the get-go.
Well, in all honesty, Karen, I didn't. You know, I'd always, like a lot of us on this call, we sort of fall into this profession. You know, I didn't leave school thinking, do you know what? Well, when I grow up, I want to be a hypnotherapist. You know, a lot we fall upon it, don't we? And I'd have no knowledge of hypnosis apart from going to a stage show many years before, but I had an interest in how people think and how our minds work. And I went along and decided I'd do this hypnosis training course just out of interest, really. I never intended to do anything with it. It was just an interest. And at the time, I was getting divorced as well. And I thought, well, you know, if I charge, I don't know, $80 a session, and, you know, I'd see a couple of people a week. At the time, I was a fraud investigator for the government. I investigated people who weren't quite as disabled as they claimed to be. And I started seeing some people, but then what got me was the difference you can make to somebody's life. And that drive then took over to do more and more of it, really.
Well, it's amazing. The reason I say you took it by storm is because you have done so much in less than 10 years.
That's why I look like this.
Well, you look lovely. And let me share with everybody, it is 1:30 in the morning, Sheila's time, and she still looks chipper and happy and raring to go. And you developed your own program, the Virtual Gastric Band program, which, again, has really taken hold. So tell me about that. I know about it. I've taken the course, but please tell us all a little bit about the Virtual Gastric Band process.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started my hypnosis practice, perhaps 80% of the people who were coming to me were coming for weight loss. You know, obviously it's a really popular avenue, you know, to market for your businesses because there's always people who want to lose weight. And what I'd been sort of taught and what I knew about, the systems I used, didn't really seem to get a result with people. It worked with some people, not with others. It just wasn't as good as I would have liked it to have been. And I read a newspaper article about some people in Spain called the Shirans, and they claimed to have come up with this concept of a gastric mind band. And they were charging people, you know, huge amounts of money to go to Spain and have sessions over 4 days. And it just said they were getting them to imagine surgery. And I read the article and I thought, what a load of rubbish. That is never, ever going to work with somebody. Absolute con, you know. But I pondered this and I thought, well, what if there is something in that type of concept? So I put a word of mouth thing out. I wanted 25 volunteers, nobody paid me any money. So I, in a way, with this as well, I exploded the myth that somebody has to pay in order to get a result. So I got 25 volunteers and I put, you know, my big girl's pants on and I invited the local media to come and independently verify any results that I got. And the worrying thing was that the media, they printed that this little trial was taking place. So I thought, oh my goodness, that means that they'll definitely be printing the results of it as well. If this doesn't work, you know, goodbye hypnosis business. And it worked for, 21 out of 25 reported positive results. And that, you know, there was one lady, she came to me after the very first session and said to me, I don't know what you've done because I've spent 25 years of my life thinking about food all of the time. And all of a sudden, I'm not thinking about it anymore. So, you know, what's happened there?
That's amazing. And the other thing is, as I understand it, you've done a lot of this through a doctor's office or through a series of doctor's offices. And so you have really hardcore proof or testimonials.
Yeah, well, what had happened was I was based in a doctor's office. That's sort of where I based my business. And yeah, I got a lot of referrals from the doctors. But, you know, I'm a big believer that, you know, we have to, although there is a huge amount of evidence out there that hypnosis works, we have to keep continually feeding that evidence base as well, and raising the profile of the profession, and keeping it in the public eye. And we can do that a lot easier with an evidence-based approach to it. And I've been, you know, working with all these clients. I had from under 2 years from a standing start, I had a 35 client a week practice. And people were coming from all over. It was madness, Karen. They were getting on a plane in Kuwait, flying to London, and then getting a train to where I'm based to have sessions with me. And I used to think, how many other therapists have you had to go by in order to get to me? But, you know, people buy into that profile, and profile-wise, if you've got an evidence base, is a lot easier because it's a lot more press-worthy as well. It's just being brave enough to do that, I suppose, and thinking what's the worst that's going to happen. And I've been seeing all these clients, and then I thought, yeah, maybe this does work.
I think it does work. I'm a testimonial to it working. I've had several clients go through your virtual gastric band approach, and they have all lost weight. Mm-hmm. And it's all very, you know, very much, it's not a diet. No. They don't feel like they're dieting. Mm-hmm. And I had one woman in 3 weeks lose 13 pounds. Yeah. And she said it was amazing because she hadn't dieted. And it's the first time she's ever lost weight without a diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the other thing that I really like about this program is what it has, you know, done for a lot of hypnotherapist businesses. You know, obviously I've done, you know, Jason Lynette does some training for me, and, you know, he tells me about people who are literally just starting up in their practice, and they've taken this program, and this has been the launch pad for them to generate the business and, you know, really help them get up that ladder as well. But yeah, the clinical evidence base of it, because at this 6 month point, I thought, well, you know, maybe this does work, or, you know, I wanted to see, I'd like, in an ideal world, hypnosis to be available for a lot more people, just not somebody who can just pay me or anybody else. I'd like to see hypnosis on the high street, as it be as common to get hypnosis as it is to go for a massage. But in the UK, obviously, we have the NHS who pay for all our medical treatments. And the only way an organisation like that would recognise the work that I was doing is with clinical evidence. And so I then started beating down some doors to get some clinical trials, and not realising how much clinical trials cost. You know, one organisation were very excited about doing it, and I thought, excellent, you know, this is going to happen. And they said, you know, have you got, well, what would have been $300,000, you know, to fund the trial? Oh, okay. Do you take a payment plan on that? So anyway, I finally, again, persistence I think pays off, and you know, I finally got clinical trials, and the program has been clinically trialed.
And so your healthcare system pays for this?
It doesn't, because our healthcare system is actually now in a bit of a nightmare. You know, it hasn't got enough staff, it hasn't got the funds available. So the reality was that they asked me for a proposal for delivering it in the UK, but what they wanted was to me train some staff once, and that was it. And then they would then go and train the rest of their organisation. Got
it. Right. They wanted your technique, but they didn't want to credit you with it. Well, tell us a little bit about the technique.
So, you know, people sort of think, you know, virtual gastric band, that, you know, that can never work, a bit like my initial interpretation of it. But what we're really doing with, because of the clients who come to see us, who are, looking for weight loss, they are the expert in diets, not us. They are the experts. They have done every diet going, so they are a specialist in that already. But a lot of the time, the diets, we know they involve deprivation, or the feeling that you've been deprived. Mm-hmm. And it's whether also it's sustainable or not in the long term. What I'm doing with the programme is, in a way, putting the right foundations back in place again. We've almost lost the right foundations to eating. We've stopped responding to our own body's instinctual signals, because, our body gives off all these signals that are designed, our subconscious gives off all these signals that are designed to keep us alive and keep us healthy. Most of which we listen and respond to. So, if you want a wee, it's our subconscious saying, right. Filling up with water, there's going to be a terrible accident, and we do something about that. We respond. Or if we're cold, it's saying, put the heating up or put some more clothes on, otherwise you're going to get hypothermia, you're going to die. So we respond. But the food signals we've completely switched off to. So we'll eat when we're not hungry. You might go out for a meal and you'll have had enough by, part way through, but you'll carry on eating it because you paid for it. We've been, but if you think about a baby, when it's born, it has a perfect weight control system. Cries when it's hungry, give it a bottle, when it's full, it stops. It doesn't think, I've had a real bad day, I deserve more, give me more, And, really suggestion, the power of suggestion has, negated all those instinctual signals, because from an early age we're trained, eat it all up, you'll be a big boy.
Right.
Aren't our parents right with these things?
You fall and skin your knee. Great Aunt Susie says, here's a cookie. Eat this, it'll feel better.
Right. And then potentially you're into comfort eating for the rest of your life.
Right. So does the virtual gastric band work alone? Or if someone has an issue with emotional eating, as an example, is that handled somewhere down the line?
Yeah, so what happens is, by the gastric band is getting somebody, rewinding slightly, by getting somebody to imagine surgery, the subconscious can act as though it's real. But on the other hand, we're getting somebody to focus much more on what their, tummy is telling them, as opposed to the head of their eyes. And if we all, like that baby, all lit with our tummy, would be where we should be. And I found that with, probably 95% of the people that I work with, there isn't necessarily an underlying reason for something. We've developed a set of habits. So let's see if we can just develop another set of habits then. But with a percentage of people, there is some emotional issue that's going on behind that. And what actually happens with this program is that shows its face very, very quickly. So, somebody might, for the first week, I'm doing something new, I'll follow these guidelines, I'll do this thing. And then perhaps between week 2 and 3, they're struggling a bit, and that's when you then look for what's behind it as well. So it's not all about, people think with a virtual gastric band, we'll just get someone to imagine surgery and that's the end of it. The chances are it wouldn't be as successful with people. A bit like the stage hypnotist, will only end up by the end of the show with a few people performing. You're into a limited number of people who are, you're highly suggestible, who will just get enough of benefit from just imaginary surgery, nothing else. So you have to have more of a rounded weight loss program in place that is going to look at the other issues as well. And that's what this program does, really. It's
not a one-off then. It's not come in, have your surgery and go away, which unfortunately tends to be what actual gastric band surgery is. They do the surgery and then they send their patients off and give them no instruction on how to follow up or deal with it.
Absolutely. And I had a gastric surgeon in Australia who contacted me, and he wanted to trial this program alongside the real surgery. Because, they found that 12 months down the line, people started putting the weight back on again, because the psychological side of it wasn't being addressed at all.
Also, with the actual surgery, one thing they've discovered is alcohol goes down just fine. There's no problem with alcohol, and they have discovered that some people a number of people who've had the actual surgery then become alcoholics because they switch their issues. Is that a problem with your program?
No, because, anything that's, subconsciously what happens is, if we hit a nerve, if you like, during the program, the subconscious almost screams, so people will actually put the weight back on again because the subconscious, or almost like you say, they'll start switching it to something else. And that's why you have to have, a number of sessions with the client, that it cannot be a one-hit wonder. Because those things have got to be addressed.
And that is exactly what you're going to be teaching in your workshop, in your 2-day workshop. And I actually have our lovely brochure. Everyone should have one of these by now, right? Our booklet here. Sheila's will be May 21st and 22nd. The 2-day course is the Weight Loss Masterclass. Become the go-to expert in your area. So in that 2-day course, Sheila, will you be teaching how to do virtual gastric band? And what is the component where you get to be the go-to expert?
Yeah, so rather than what I wanted to do for the conference is, rather than the regular training just on virtual gastric band and how to deliver that, I wanted to add in other programs and information into that as well, because although it's not a diet, if we put the right foundations in place with somebody, then people then want, and they find that easy and they can manage that, a proportion of people become more interested in, okay, what should I be doing nutritionally? Or if there's an alcohol element, or if it is just purely alcohol and not that's creating the weight issue, that we can address that as well. So what I wanted to do with this class for the conference is pile everything in. So we're going to be looking at virtual gastric band, of course, and anybody attending will be able to go away and deliver that straight out the gate. But there'll also be the additional programs that would normally be extra costs and extra training I'm going to put in there. So I'm going to put the nutritional program in. I'm going to put the alcohol program in. So actually you can go away and work with multiple people with it. And then the go-to expert as well is within my training, not only do I teach the protocols and the hypnosis side of it, but I think it's really important that people know how to get themselves out there. How do they market themselves? So I really share every single secret I've got, and I give away 2,500 UK pounds. So that's about, what is that in dollars? About $4,000 worth of press releases that people can adapt for their own purposes, that cover all areas of hypnosis. To get themselves out in their local community, because a big part of what I did to build a practice, I know there's so we're in this digital age, but we still have to become known in our community.
Yes.
Yes, we can use Zoom and do overseas clients, etc. But the best thing you can do is become a real known in your community, and so people see you all the time, and they know that you're always going to be there. And so I also teach how to create that longevity, and also the constant stream, if you like, of clients. Because often, if you did Facebook ads or something, you might end up getting a new influx of clients. You work your way through those, and then all of a sudden there's nothing left. Or, Facebook changes its algorithms and that system doesn't work anymore. So we've got to have multiple, what I would call, marketing pillars in place that create that longevity in your practice. So it's, how do you get one client to bring the next client, referral systems, and so I bring all of that into those 2 days. So it's a full on, people will leave with their head exploding with, oh my goodness, all these things I can do.
Well, you obviously must know something about that, Sheila. You've been on BBC News, The Sun newspaper, Women's Weekly magazine, Daily Express, India Times. I'm looking just down at your Melbourne Observer, Fox News. You've been every place. So you must know something about how to get that kind of publicity.
Yeah, and press and publicity I found is a great, because it's free marketing as well. It doesn't actually cost you anything. And, you know, if you talk on your local radio, or you seem to be in your, if you have a local newspaper in your area, if you seem to be in that, to the general public, you are an expert. You know, they view what, you know, people that they talk on the radio, what they read about you, you are the expert. And so you want it so that you are the very first person in your local community that somebody thinks about when they consider going for hypnosis for something.
So do you find that people seek you out for this procedure, and do they do it ahead of thinking about actual surgery, or do they do it because they wouldn't ever consider surgery? How do they use this program?
Yeah, I think the people who are perhaps in the surgery bracket, you know, who perhaps have got a lot of weight to lose, this program may help them, but it depends what mindset they're in. And we've always got to work with people who are willing to make a change themselves as well. And often the people who have maybe gone into that surgery mode of thinking think that the surgery is the magic bullet. And so they may well fail you as well, because really they want the surgery.
They want something else to do it for them. They don't want to.
Absolutely. You know, and, you know, I had a lady who rang me up, and she said that the gastric surgeon had given her my contact details. And she said, you know, I had a gastric bypass operation and the surgeon failed me. I have not lost any weight. Oh, that's, you know, the gastric band failed. And I then did gastric bypass surgery and the surgeon failed me again. I haven't lost any weight. I think, how is that possible? How can you? How is that physically possible? But, you know, so she said, but, so, you know, I would be a good test case for you. You know, the alarm bells start ringing. And she said, but I can't afford your fee. She then went on to say, but, you know, I know that all businesses are struggling. Yeah, I could feel the hackles on the back of my neck coming up, you know. But I thought, you know, to give her the benefit of the doubt, I said, you know, why don't you just come along, have a chat with me. I do a complimentary consultations to begin with. Why don't you just come along, have a chat with me? I can find out more about you. You know, you can meet me, and then I can give you an honest opinion to whether I think I can help you or not. But what finally ended it with her was she said, I'll just have a look in my diary to see when it's convenient for me to see you.
I'm guessing you
Bye.
Right. And don't we as hypnotists have to be cognizant of that? Don't we have to be aware of that no matter what the issue? Because what we do is not magic.
No. And it's not being afraid to turn clients down.
Right.
Because what happens with them as well, they become, you know, because we have this fantastic skill set, we do want to help. We want to help people, that we naturally come from that position and we've always got to work from the right place. But, you know, those type of people, if you take them on, they also turn into your worst nightmare.
Right.
And we can't want the change more than they do.
Right. And we can't do it for them.
No.
I do tell my clients that my programs are much more expensive if I have to follow them around and keep the fork out of their mouth or the cigarette out of their mouth. It's a much more expensive program. They have to do their part along the way.
I have to come and live with you. It's very expensive.
That's right. So is there a weight cutoff? I mean, if somebody calls you and says, I want to lose 10 pounds, are they a candidate for virtual gastric band?
And that's the interesting thing, is that this program will work for somebody who has only got a little bit that they want to lose. You know, I had a lady, and she did one of the traditional ones, Slimming Well, that we have over here, who, you know, actively encourage overeating, really. You know, eat as much as you want on a red day of chicken, or, you know, okay, I'll bring 10 truckloads down, is that all right? And she just kept yo-yoing on the last sort of 7 pounds, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off. And she wanted to lose that and stabilise it. So this program worked for her. And so she didn't have to carry on with, you know, that sort of yo-yo approach. Right. So, yeah, and in a way, I mean, I've never done much with it, and perhaps I should. But in an equal way, it would probably work for somebody who was underweight.
To put weight on?
Put it on.
Wow.
Because we are getting somebody to respond to what their body's telling them.
Sure, that's right.
So it would probably work the other way as well.
Now, is there a top end? Will you not take someone who has 80 or 100 or 400 pounds to lose? Is there a top?
With this program, you know, there are testimonials from other hypnotists around the world who have got people to lose 100 pounds.
And again, that's not a one-off. That is a continual program.
Yeah, so you know, this is a 4-week program that's delivered initially. But yeah, if somebody's got a lot to lose, then, you know, I mean, some of my biggest successes have been, you know, 120, 130 pounds. You know, one guy, he was a truck driver, and he lost 100 and, let me work this out. He lost 130 pounds in 9 months.
Wow.
And he did it, and I only did 4 sessions with him, but he became more interested himself in nutrition and exercise, and it changed his whole lifestyle. This was just the starter for 10 for him, if you like. But most people, yeah, they would need perhaps monthly reinforcement. You know, another lady, Sonia, who I worked with very early with the program, and she lost 120 pounds. And she used to come every month to see me, and really it wasn't, she was still doing all the things, she was losing the weight, but I became a little bit like a comfort blanket to her, really. And it's, you know, offering that continuous support in some way. And also, you know, the program is about habit formation, and people say, you know, does it last forever? Well, it'll last while the habits are there.
Right.
You know, but as we know, life happens, and I find the only people who I tend to see again in the future, they tend to have had some sort of emotional hit that set them off in another road, and it's pulling them back again, you know.
And it's interesting that you use that metaphor, pulling them off the road, because we do that with our car all the time, do we not? Don't we take our cars in for tune-ups?
Yeah, definitely.
So why wouldn't we take our body, our vehicle, in for a tune-up once in a while if we need it?
Yeah.
Do you offer a maintenance program? Do you suggest some kind of maintenance?
Well, yeah, I mean, for both aspects, really, from a business point of view, you know, I think we should always offer our clients something else. You know, if our clients come to us for sessions and we fix that particular issue, what we tend to do as a profession is then sack our customer, don't we? Yeah, goodbye. Let me know if you need anything else. Goodbye. What the business sacks their clients. But, you know, so we should always offer, you know, I think, you know, with this particular person, and I think it is working with people on a very much an individual basis, because we're all different with different needs. I always, you know, say, you know, some clients do benefit from being seen on a monthly basis. You know, shall I book that in for you now? So obviously you can get that from a business point of view, you get in that continuous stream as well. But also, you know, if you do offer them something, how would they know that you've got anything that you can do for them?
Right. Do you offer a guarantee of any kind?
I don't. You know, when I do the, you know, the complimentary consultations, I always say, you know, obviously I make the program sound marvellous, but I always say, you know, I have to say, you know, I cannot guarantee, I know I've made this sound really good, but I cannot guarantee it. Nobody can, doctors can't, even the pill's not guaranteed to make you better. Right. And people tend to say, yeah, I understand that.
And you don't put them through the surgery over and over and over again. Not, you said you met with this truck driver 4 times. He didn't have 4 surgeries, right?
No. Well, it was a little bit sore after that number of surgeries.
Yeah, right. There's no stomach left.
Just cut a little bit more off.
So in your program, you teach some other things to do on follow-up sessions.
Yeah, I'm very much, you know, I'm very much an Ericksonian therapist, really. So, you know, there's a lot of metaphors involved. I use some aversion techniques as well for particular foods. And, you know, most of people who, and anybody who comes in the class as well, I do a group aversion. You know, normally just before lunch to completely ruin lunch for everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm sitting there enjoying mine, and like, oh, are you not hungry? So people get a chance, and also what's been really interesting is I've had therapists contact me who've been in the class and they've said, I've lost weight. Actually, there was one lady, I think she's in the United States, and she did the program, I think at Hypnothoughts or somewhere, and she said that she herself has lost 30 pounds from being sitting in the class.
Wow. That's excellent.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really nice story,
Right.
But yeah, it cannot just be, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the call, it cannot just be about imagining surgery, because that wouldn't be enough for most people. Right. Or you're putting all your eggs in one basket, aren't you? And you really are looking to perform a miracle, and then that'd be the end of it. So it's a fully rounded program. It's a lot of versions, a lot of metaphors, that are going to get things to stick. And it's also looking at, emotional issues as well.
And your program that you're offering, what someone will learn when they take your course at IACT IMDHA out in Daytona Beach is they'll not only learn the Virtual Gastric Band protocol, but they'll also get scripts, I'm guessing, and other things that they can do along the way, and suggestions on how to follow up with that.
Absolutely, yeah. So that pretty much somebody gets everything that you could possibly want and more. So they get a full training manual that's got all the scripts, etc. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm also going to give full programs on nutrition. So people will be able to, and on hormones, because we know that hormones can have an impact on weight. Alcohol, the scripts, and every session is completely scripted. Yeah, it's a framework. I always say, I don't really want you to go away and read this script to a client. I want you to personalise it to them. But the whole program is a framework to work within, with this, huge pile of other tools and techniques that are mixed and matched to suit the client who's sitting in front of you. And there's also demos as well.
And it also sounds like someone who is brand new could take the scripts and start with script work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as their skills grow, they can add things in. I know I did some training with Jason Lynette on Virtual Gastric Band, and one of the messages that he gave is anything that add to this. Mm-hmm. So you're not saying you can only do it this way. You're giving ideas on take this tack, or here's an example of how to do aversion work. So I'm guessing any level of hypnotist, brand new or seasoned hypnotist, could learn something from this 2-day course.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, a lot of when you're starting off, we do need something to go by, don't we? I remember one of my very first clients, again, I was very foolhardy. There was a full-page article in my local paper about a lady that had been hiccuping continuously for 5.5 years. That must be terrible, mustn't it? 5.5 years at that. Okay. And it was a bit of a plea for help. And I rang the newspaper up and said, I'm a hypnotherapist. I think I might be able to help that lady. I'd only been qualified a week. And then they said, we're going to bring her to see you tomorrow, and we'd like to film it for our website. I'm scrabbling away looking through hypnosis. Are there any hypnosis scripts for hiccuping anywhere? Right. But, something that gives me some kind of idea of what to do. And I couldn't at the time. I couldn't find anything. And I'm, sitting in this room, and they've got this camera rolling, and I'm doing my induction. I'm counting from 1 to 10. Hoping there would be an angel in the room that would tell me what to say, because I'd already got to 8 and nothing was coming to mind. But so unfortunately she did stop. I don't know what I said that stopped her, but she did stop. But yeah, we need something to go by, especially when we're starting off, and to give us that confidence. And it's an easy system to use as well. It's easy on you as a therapist, it's easy on the clients. We're not immediately going for our big tools of digging around in the dirt, and it's a very easy system. So that has all the scripts, but yeah, you can start off with that, but yeah, add in all the other stuff as you learn it, because it's about being you. you might model somebody else's program to begin with, but then you want to become, you're going to deliver hypnosis your way. We all have our way of delivering things, and then you find your way, don't you? And by having that basic system in place to begin with.
And even if you have the system and the protocol, we still need to do client-centered work. So we still need to listen to the client and give them what they need.
Yes, yeah, and that's what the system does really. There's so many scripts and protocols that you're following a framework, but you're thinking, oh yes, so this person does this, there's this technique I'm going to use for that, and of course we're going to mix our own magic recipe.
Right. So I just want to remind you, we have a few minutes left, just a very few. It goes by very quickly. If you have a question that you'd like to ask Sheila, this is the time. And the best way to do that is to go down on that bottom row there of your screen, and there's a chat button. You can click that and type in, I've got a question. Or you can go over to the participants window, and there's a place where you can raise your hand. And if you do either one of those things, I will open your mic and you can ask Sheila a question. And we do have, like I said, just a couple of more minutes. So if you'd like to do that, let's get those questions in. In a moment, I will open all the microphones so that everybody can say thank you for coming. It is, after all, now 2:15 London time, or British time, and Sheila is here in the middle of her night, just helping us out. I appreciate it. Is there a good reason to niche your hypnosis practice toward weight loss, Sheila?
I think with weight loss, I say you'll always find people who want to lose weight. So it's quite an easy marketable product, if you like. Because whereas people might think, twice about coming for their anxiety or their fears, they may think, oh, I'm not going to fund getting that done. But people will always find the money for weight loss, so that's an easy market to go for. But the other thing about niching is your marketing as well becomes much easier. If we, I do a lot of business networking, and if you, are putting your services out there and you say, yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist, well, we can call ourselves a hypnotherapist in the UK without being a psychologist or medical doctor or anything else. But, I'm a hypnotherapist and I help all sorts of people with all sorts of issues. Who are all those all sorts of people with all sorts of issues? Your marketing becomes more difficult. Whereas if you're just talking about a specific topic, it's much easier to target your marketing down as opposed to scattergunning all the time.
Not to mention the fact that people are used to spending money for weight loss. Yeah. People are used to spending upfront money for weight loss. And anyone who has thought about a gastric band process, they know how much it's going to cost. And if they're trying to avoid surgery, for heaven's sake, this is a much better way to go to do it with their own mind. They do have to do their part, though. They do have to do their part.
And then when we talk about cost as well, people, as long as you, explain the benefits of somebody, it benefits it to somebody, so they buy the benefits, the price really becomes immaterial. They really don't blink at the price at all. Right. And for all those reasons that you said, Karen, as well.
So don't forget that Sheila Granger will be doing the Weight Loss Masterclass, Become the Go-To Expert in Your Area. And she's doing that right after the conference in Daytona. It'll be May 21st and 22nd, a 2-day course. And you want to, as you're booking your flights and that kind of thing, leave a couple of days so that you can spend some time with Sheila in the daytime hours.
I haven't decided the times of the class yet.
But it's not going to be overnight. When everybody's awake, and you get to listen to that lovely accent for 2 days. It's so enjoyable.
I haven't got an accent. It's all you people who've got an accent.
I know, but you're coming to where we are, and so unfortunately, yes, here you're going to have the accent and the warm weather in Daytona Beach. So
can't wait. Beautiful place. Beautiful.
The conference, of course, is May 18th, 19th, and 20th in Daytona Beach, Florida, and Sheila Granger's class will be the 21st and 22nd. Sheila, I just can't thank you enough for getting up in the middle of the night and spending some time with us. I love your program, and it's an excellent program. And now, don't go away just yet. As a matter of fact, you're welcome to stay up even longer tonight, because you'll never go back to sleep anyway, to hear Richard Nongard, who's coming up next.
Yes, I know. Yes, no, I'm going to listen to Richard for a bit. I listened to, the first time I met Richard was at the conference last year in Daytona.
Ah, well.
And although, our paths have crossed a number of times, but never in the same country at the same time. And, I really love what Richard has to say, because it comes from the same place as me, this evidence-based approach. And his, presentation at last year's conference was really excellent, loved it.
We're about to hear from him, but first I'm going to unmute all of the microphones. Everybody is unmuted. Please, let's give Sheila a big send-off, and thank you for spending the middle of your night with us.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Say goodnight.
That means I just got a voicemail at
And mark your
this hour
calendar.
of the night, and the number looks really familiar. But
There's some
I
chattering going on,
tell you
Sheila.
why? So let me.
I am
just
going to
check the
mute
voicemail.
everyone again.
Okay.
And say thank you very much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. Oh, I'm sorry, I muted you. Let me unmute you one more time, because you have something to say goodbye. Yes, I'm sorry, now you're unmuted.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Karen, and thank you all the people who've been on the call. Hope you can understand my accent. Didn't have to get anybody to do any translation.
We haven't had to do that, although we do have different words we use. We'll talk about those when I do it. We won't do that on this call. We'll talk about that privately. All right, Sheila, thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the night, all of you, and thank you very much.
Very nice to have you. Thank you very much. This call will be recorded, of course. It is being recorded, and you will be able to listen to it. I'm getting it to Michael tonight, who is flying in from Los Angeles tonight, and this recording will be to him, and he will have it uploaded. We'll have it in the virtual chapter section, and we will have it uploaded for you to see on the IACT IMDHA website. You can go there and watch it at any time or review it. You can also go to the IMDHA IACT site for CEUs. So you can just check in, say that you spent an hour and a half with us tonight, that you saw Sheila Granger and upcoming Richard Nongard, and you will get an hour and a half's worth of CEUs for joining us tonight. Sheila, thank you so very much. It's been a real pleasure to have you here. Thanks a bunch. And it's time now for Richard Nongard. Richard, I know that you're on the call. Speak up, my friend.
Well, good evening, and it was great to listen to you again, Sheila, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at this year's convention. So hopefully we'll get a chance to spend more time together.
Absolutely. But I want him too, Sheila, because I've got to tell you guys, I am a big Richard Nongard fan. He's a homeboy. He's a Chicago boy, and I didn't even know that until just a couple of, last year sometime, when we ended up having a mutual friend on Facebook. And I'm a really big fan of Richard Nongard. I think he does some wonderful things. At the conference, I am so sorry, Richard, to say that we are up against each other. I won't be able to attend yours, which is Techniques of Contextual Hypnotherapy. It will be on Friday, May 18th, and we'll be right next to each other. But I would love to.
Wave at each other through the wall.
We'll do that, or knock on the wall, send signals, something like that. I might have to get the recording. But we're lucky enough to have Richard here tonight and spend some time with him. I've got a little inside piece of information that he has been running a fever of about 101 today, and he's such a Superman that he's joining us anyway. I knew that he would make it and be stellar. So thank you very much, Richard, for joining us. And you will be talking on May 18th about contextual hypnosis. Before we get into that, what I do want to say is Richard is an actual doctor, Dr. Richard Nongard. He's a thought leader in professional hypnosis. He's the author of numerous books and resources for professional hypnosis. I mean, do you have a count on how many, Richard? How many books have you written?
I've probably written about 15 books. You know, the first books I wrote were in the field of psychotherapy and counseling for mental health professionals. My most recent books, probably about 7 or 8 of them, have all been in the area of clinical hypnosis, except for one. I wrote a business book on transformational leadership, which helps any business executive from any industry, whether it's counseling or therapy or hypnosis or the logging industry. It doesn't really matter what it is. Transform themselves first so that they can be an effective leader and transform others. So those are the books that I've written.
Phenomenal stuff. He's a 2017 IMDHA Lifetime Achievement Award winner. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist and in private practice as a professional hypnotist in Las Vegas. And I'm curious, you started out in the shrink business or the psych side of it and transitioned to full-time hypnosis. Tell me about making that switch.
Well, the switch was easy for me. So when I was in graduate school working on my master's in counseling, I was the most fortunate student ever because I was randomly assigned a practicum supervisor, just, go see this guy, he's your supervisor. And that professor turned out to be a licensed psychologist. His name was Dr. Dean Montgomery. He's still a good friend of mine 30 plus years later. And he was a student or a contemporary of Milton Erickson's. And so because he was using Ericksonian hypnosis with his patients in his office, he taught me hypnosis. I didn't even know what I was being taught. So when I finished my master's and began working in the field of addiction counseling and working in inpatient psychiatry and drug and alcohol treatment programs, I relied heavily on the methods of hypnosis, especially during the detox phase, and also as a real tool for relapse prevention. And so I always used hypnosis as a part of my psychotherapy. But in 2006, I was fed up with insurance companies. I was fed up with third-party billing. I was fed up with institutionalization of individuals in a system that taught them to be sick and dysfunctional. And so I made the decision that I was no longer going to offer any form of traditional counseling or psychotherapy, and that I was going to close my office and reopen my office as the Tulsa Hypnosis Center. And I've only been doing hypnosis since then, even though I've been doing hypnosis for 30 years now.
Well, haven't we all been doing hypnosis all our lives? I mean,
exactly.
Our parents hypnotized us as children. Our teachers hypnotized us. Our preachers hypnotized us. And,
My wife, who loves me, is insisting on feeding me because I'm sick. Look at this giant plate of food that she took.
She is
Chidiam jar.
And was that in a moment?
That's at 7 o'clock. I will eat.
Oh, you will. You're welcome to eat if you can talk, but just don't talk with your mouth full.
Exactly. So, well, I have to eat with chopsticks and the whole 9 yards because it's Chinese food. We speak Chinese.
And you will bring Mia with you to Daytona Beach, will you not?
I will. We went last year.
Yes, I know. That's where I met her. You had just gotten married last year.
Yeah. So this will be our first anniversary, and I guess our annual honeymoon at IMDHA, right?
Well, that's a wonderful place to be. Why not? Right. Why not? So, Richard is the first person I think that I heard actually say this, and I was so impressed that many people think an induction is something that you have to get through, and then you get to the good part of hypnosis. And I heard Richard say, no, the induction can be the good part. The good part should be there too. And I think that's brilliant. And I'm wondering, because that kind of is what really first attracted me to you and made me so impressed, I'm wondering if you could run us through. Often we save till the very end kind of a process, but I'm wondering if you could run us through an induction where you show us what you mean by induction is the good part.
Yeah, I back in the mid-2000s, I created a series of videos, primarily for stage hypnotists, but for clinical hypnotists also on speed trance. I did that with John Serbone. And it's great in stage hypnosis, but a lot of people think that they need to figure out how to hypnotize people quickly so then they can get to the good stuff. And the research actually shows, by the way, anyone who attends my talk in Daytona, they're going to get my little book. I'll give it to them. 101 Proofs Hypnosis Helps to Heal Faster. This is all the academic research. We don't have to wonder, is hypnosis useful? It actually is. And the cool thing is the research not only shows us that hypnosis is helpful, it actually shows us what methods are helpful. and we can use those. So my idea in hypnotic induction is it's not something we get through to get to the good stuff. If we do induction correctly, it is the good stuff. In fact, if all we did ever again was induction, deepener, and reorientation, if we used the methods that the research shows us the most effective, 99.9% of our clients would be completely satisfied with the experience they had. So induction can be used in a number of different ways. It can be used, here's probably one of the primary ways that I use induction, to train a person in mindfulness and being fully here in this present moment by setting aside any concerns for tomorrow or any regrets of the past and just being here in this moment. So mindfulness, the power of now, as Eckhart Tolle called it, or to quote my favorite quote of all time, yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery. All we have is the present, and that's why it's a gift. Those are the wise words from the great master Oogway, who was the turtle in Kung Fu Panda. Right. And by the way, Oogway is the Chinese word for turtle. So
wow.
Master turtle, right?
Yeah.
So I use mindfulness as a component of really focusing my clients' attention on the present moment, because no matter what's going on in the world, as long as we're fully present, we're actually okay. So I used to be afraid to fly, right? And if I'm fully present, as long as I'm breathing, I'm actually okay, right? It doesn't matter what the plane is doing or how much turbulence there is or how dark it is or how long the flight is or how scary it is. If I'm breathing, I'm actually okay. The same thing if I'm having surgery. I had surgery last July, pretty stressful experience. It was my third throat surgery, and I earned my living with my voice. And as long as I'm breathing, I'm actually okay. So mindfulness is something that we teach a person, and an induction should teach a person that we can go beyond mindfulness. We can also teach a person that they can choose to direct their attention to anywhere they want to. And we can do this by telling them that, and cognitively they'll understand it. We can also do it experientially, and I'll guide everyone through a process that I think does that really, really well. Herbert Benson in the 1970s just gave us a wealth of research, Harvard School of Medicine, on the relaxation response and the benefit to medical clients. And the great thing is Herbert Benson's continued that research at Harvard for the last 30 years. And I'm surprised how many hypnotists are not really familiar. I actually hear hypnotists say, well, we shouldn't do progressive muscle relaxation. It's too easy or it's too simple. Wow, it teaches life-changing skills. And if we use PMR in our induction, we are literally teaching all of the clients who we're working with a research-backed strategy that changes lives. Autogenic training is a component of effective hypnotic induction. It was developed around the same time as progressive muscle relaxation, but it focuses on creating from within. And if I can create an experience in a hypnotic induction, a perceptual change, then what else can I create? The potential in hypnosis is unlimited. And when we do that in a hypnotic induction, we change lives. So I think I did a workshop for the American Counseling Association in 2007. They had an annual convention in Hawaii. So I volunteered to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I did a talk called Skill Building Hypnosis. That's what I titled the talk. And again, these were counselors who largely were not familiar with hypnosis at all. I had one whole day, 6 or 7 hours. And I taught them then what I called a skill building induction. And many of them, I've kept in touch with some of them, have really not developed their hypnosis skills any further. But they've reported that they've been using that with their clients for the last 10 years and continue to find that it's tremendously helpful for anxious clients, medical clients, addicted clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So induction, if we do it correctly, is the good stuff. It's not something we get through to get to the good stuff.
So I don't want to take the whole interview time with this, but would you give us, the people who are here, that experience now for about, can you do it in about 10, 15 minutes?
I'll do it in 4.
Wow, okay. I want to experience.
So it's easy for us to utilize trance. We already know how to do that. And so bring yourself to that resource state that's so useful to you. And while you're watching the computer screen in front of you, I want you to pick a spot on your computer screen. Maybe it's an icon on one of the windows, or maybe it's a microphone with a red slash through it on the Zoom software, or maybe it's the Shenyan Kwaila Happy New Year decoration and the shadow in the corner of my house. It doesn't really matter what it is, but pick a spot on the computer in front of you. Choose a spot and bring all of your attention to that spot right now. Essentially, stare at a spot. Now, there are other things vying for your attention. My dog is laying here next to me. She probably wants to play. And I have people in the other room who are trying to feed me food. You probably have things happening at your house as well. And so just continue to focus your attention on that spot, no matter what else is going on. And this is really lesson number one, that no matter what else is going on, you can choose at any moment where to direct your attention. In this case, to a spot. Now, if you stare at a spot for long enough, your eyes become tired. You've heard a Hollywood hypnotist say, your eyelids are getting sleepy, your eyelids are getting heavy. Well, that's because of ocular fatigue. If you stare at a spot or a pendulum or anything else, the eyes get tired. So go ahead and close those eyes down. And what's amazing is that even with the eyes closed down right now, you can still see that spot that you were just staring at a moment ago. It's really almost as if you have X-ray vision. In fact, when you were a kid, you probably saw in the back of a comic book X-ray glasses for $0.25. So I just saved you 25 cents. Because what we focus our attention on is what we choose to, and even with our eyes closed, we can focus on that spot on the computer screen in front of us. Now, bring your attention now to an imaginary spot halfway between you and the computer that you're looking at. And move your awareness to that spot, an imaginary spot halfway between you and the computer monitor. And this is really learning number two, that we can even bring our attention to somewhere that doesn't actually exist, because that spot that you're focusing on between you and the monitor is really just an empty space, which shows us we have the ability to create from within. And so bring your attention now to a spot. Move that spot essentially to a spot directly in front of your closed eyes. And now bring that spot, that awareness, into your mind, into that place in the mind where creativity exists and where hypnotic focus is and where learning takes place. Just a moment ago, you perhaps weren't even aware that this spot existed, but it does. And you've moved your awareness now to that place deep within your own mind, and you can probably even sense the creative energy that it brings. And even though it's exciting to experience such a thing, allow your body to relax. Just scan anywhere in the body where you're carrying tension of the day and let that tension melt. You can drop your shoulders and you can unclench your jaw. Pay attention to the feeling of relaxation. And really notice how relaxation is different than tension. The tension you may have been holding throughout the day. And let yourself enter a deep state of relaxation in both mind and body, with each breath being each moment fully present. Letting any, again, concerns over tomorrow or regrets of yesterday simply disappear, being focused on this moment. And now you've created a resource state we call hypnosis. And so bring your attention now to your hands resting on your lap. And think of the word warmth. Warmth like that which might come from the sun, or warmth like that comes from inside of the body, or a cup of hot tea. And say to yourself, my hands are warm. My hands are warm. My hands are warm. And become aware of the sensation of your hands being warm.
What do you keep doing the crowd?
And now think of the word heavy. 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 And as you focus on your hands, let your hands be heavy, saying to yourself, my hands are heavy. My hands are heavy. My hands are heavy. And notice how even if you wanted to, you could lift your hands in the air, but it feels so good to just let them relax and be warm and heavy. So continue to relax. Each breath, each number, relaxing a little bit deeper, learning a little bit more. 3, 2, 1, 0. And this resource state that we have created now is the resource state we call hypnosis. It's not one that I've created. It's one that you've created. I didn't turn up the thermostat in your room or put a book on your hands, but you created that sense of warmth and heaviness. And so from this point forward, anytime over the next day or two or week or two, you need to return back to this resource state that you've created. Simply close your eyes for a moment, take in a breath, and bring yourself back to this place of your own creation. But because Karen is doing an interview, it is time right now to reorient, to feel the chair below you, the air in the room around you, to hear my voice, and to open your eyes, feeling refreshed from this short. And so, if your eyes aren't open yet, go ahead and open your eyes now. 1, 2, 3. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey.
That was lovely. And yes, what a wonderful experience that was. A couple of things I noticed in that experience, not only what I was doing internally and able to do all those things you said, but you didn't go into some kind of monotone, really slow approach to doing this. You were just you, Richard, and it worked perfectly.
My hypnotic voice is just the way I talk. So, again, there's different styles that people adopt. That's fine. You know, I live in Las Vegas, so I live near Steve G. Jones. I'm pretty good friends with Steve G. Jones. And if I listen to a Steve G. Jones recording, suddenly take in a deep breath, right? So he's chosen obviously a much different hypnotic voice, but I'm it's like I'm what you call a WYSIWYG hypnotist. What you see is what you get.
It can all work as long as we take on our own style, right?
And I'm from Chicago, so I talk fast.
You do. And you are all about using creativity and being creative in what you do. Tell me about that. How does creativity enhance what we do?
Well, I had kind of, you know, sometimes we learn from our own experiences. I mean, you know, I was in a weird internet debate the other day. People were talking about hypnosis certification. I posed the question, where did Milton Erickson get certified in hypnosis? He didn't. Somebody said, well, he was a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Look, all my friends are psychiatrists and psychologists. None of them know anything about hypnosis. They don't teach it in psychology school or in medical school. So he got it from his personal experience. He was a kid with polio, and he said he wasn't going to live the night, and he used eye fixation as a method of trance utilization, and he carried that from his childhood into his adulthood and explored that experience and how it could benefit others. So a couple of years ago, maybe let's go back 3 years in time, I noticed I couldn't speak anymore. I was losing my voice. I went to the doctor and had bad news. And so there was about a year and a half that I couldn't really speak very well or speak at all. And so I stopped seeing clients during that time period, because if you can't talk, you can't do hypnosis. And I moved from Tulsa, I closed the office, I moved to Las Vegas, and I had another surgery last July. It was very successful. I'm in great shape. My voice is better than it's been in a long time, and I'm even sick. And so I reopened the office, but there was I've been seeing clients for 30 years, and that year and a half off helped me to really explore self-hypnosis and applications of it during medical procedures, creating wellness, dealing with everything from relationship issues to finding meaning because my kids grew up, my dog died, all that sort of stuff, you know. And so when I opened up the Nevada office, I decided that I was going to try to use creativity to a greater extent. So I've created a real multi-sensorial approach, using video, using lighting, using using scent, using sound creatively with my clients. And so I think that I've really enjoyed working with clients in my office since I opened up again, you know, 6 months ago. And I've been seeing a lot of clients in my office. And it's been really great to integrate, you know, some pre-talk that comes in a video form, some audio experiences that enhance hypnotic suggestion. I use headphones with all of my clients in my office. I mean, I guess maybe 1% I don't, but you know, 99% of the time I do, because I can use audio effects and enhance their experience. And so I've just really tried to focus on how can we be more creative and more dynamic. Most of the time we go into a hypnotist office and one person is talking to another, and we're talking about visualization, but why aren't we using visualization?
Well,
why are we using imagery?
You upstart, you. How dare you actually use the creativity of your mind in order to sell hypnosis?
Yeah, I know some people are pretty unhappy that I have a giant 65-inch monitor in my office, and when I talk about ocean waves, they can actually see ocean waves. They're like, well, you can just do that with their eyes closed. Why not do it with their eyes open? You know, one of my most popular YouTube videos, I got millions of hits on my YouTube channel, was called Backwards Hypnosis. Instead of going to a deeper level of trance, we go to a higher level of awareness. Instead of counting backwards from 10, we count up to 10. I did everything backwards. Instead of closing the eyes, we open the eyes. Instead of becoming contemplative and reflective, we become dynamic and aware. And all of those things really, I think, enhance our clients' experience and give us the ability then to meet different clients with different needs at different times and places. So a lot of times we assess, is my client auditory or are they visual or are they kinesthetic? And the reason that most hypnotists do this is so if they're auditory, I can match that. Or if they're kinesthetic, I can match that. Or if they're visual, I can match that. That's what NLP teaches us. But my theory is I want to measure if they're auditory, visual, or kinesthetic, because if they're not visual, I want to teach them how to be. If they're not auditory, I want to teach them how to listen and pay attention and follow a process. If they're not kinesthetic, I want them to get in touch with their feelings and to become alive again. So I use auditory, visual, and kinesthetic to help them enhance their acuity rather than simply try to match their acuity.
And isn't it interesting that you're using real world stuff? I mean, I would say that the television, or now the mobile device, is the #1 hypnotist in the world. People are watching that screen and being hypnotized into buying things and believing things and all sorts of stuff. Why not use that? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, some people are really upset though.
Well, some people are going to get upset about all sorts of things, right? I don't think, you don't strike me as the kind of guy who cares too much about people getting upset. You strike me as the guy about who moves forward. You also talk about...
Somebody actually posted on my Facebook group not too long ago. It was actually pretty funny. I posted a clip of me using a poem from J.R. Tolkien. And I used it as part of in hypnosis we use metaphor, parable, poetry, those sorts of things. And I intentionally chose something from Lord of the Rings, because a lot of people are very familiar with that poem, even if they're not familiar with poetry. I have far more esoteric poetry they're not familiar with. And so I posted that, and somebody said, well, this is a hypnosis, not poetry.
Isn't everything hypnosis?
Everything is hypnosis. In fact, that's why hypnosis will never be regulated, because you'd have to regulate parenting and teaching and radio hosting, and you'd have to regulate policing and sports performance and ministering and everything else everybody does. Life is. I don't try to teach people how to do hypnosis. I try to, whether I'm teaching other professionals or whether I'm teaching my clients hypnosis, because I view myself not as doing something to them, but as their teacher. So my clients come to me to have me teach them hypnosis because I want to teach people how to become hypnotic. Because living life hypnotically is a much easier way to live life.
Absolutely. That seems to make so much sense. How does one live hypnotically?
Well, let's take meditation, for example. People ask me all the time, what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis? They want to debate semantics and two heads of the same coin, blah, 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 blah. I studied them for 30-some years. My bachelor's degree is in ministry. I'm very familiar with world religions. I haven't been able to come up with a difference yet between meditation and hypnosis. But so in meditation, we take 20 minutes to meditate, or 30 minutes to meditate, or an hour to meditate, or 5 minutes to meditate. The value of meditation is not because we accomplish anything in those 5 or 20 or 40 minutes. Same thing with hypnosis. The value of hypnosis is not that we accomplish anything in a 5-minute or 20-minute or 40-minute hypnosis session. The value is that when we're done meditating, when we're done with our session, we can now take it and meditate 24 hours. So the reason why we meditate for 20 minutes is so that we can practice meditating 24 hours. So we live life as a meditation. So walking becomes mindfulness. So eating becomes mindfulness. So that life, our relationships are a meditation. The same thing with hypnosis. We spend 20 or 40 minutes with my client, not so I can do anything to them, but so when they leave my office, they can take this experience with them and live hypnotically. So next time they're stressed out at a red light or sitting at a buffet thinking about chowing down on their whole $9.95's worth, they can be hypnotic instead.
Oh my gosh, you're bringing people into consciousness.
Yes, well, we're not trying to create unconsciousness. We're trying to increase consciousness, absolutely. Transutilization.
Say that again?
Transutilization. My job is not to create trance or to do anything to my clients. All of our clients are in trance. Today I was at Walgreens. I was buying cold medicine, and the lady who cuts my hair turned up in line in front of me, and so she was talking to the clerk, and she said, "Oh yeah, and he's a hypnotist, right?" So you know how that starts in public. And she said, "Really, I don't believe in hypnosis." And rather than entertaining that debate, my simple answer to her was, well, we're all in hypnosis all the time. So the question isn't how do I get hypnotized, but how do I utilize my trance states so that I can have a more productive day? How can I increase my happiness trance, or how can I increase my learning trance, or how can I increase my motivation trance? How can I make it last longer, or utilize the trance states that are more resourceful than my negative trance states, my depression trance, or my uncooperation trance, or my jerk trance?
Right, which people go into and out of seamlessly all day long.
Right.
We go into our I'm with my children trance, and then we go out to drink with the boys or out to lunch with the girls, and we move into that trance seamlessly. Nobody has to tell us to do it. We just go in and out of those different trance states all day long, do we not?
We do, absolutely. And so the question is always, how do we utilize trance? By the way, I know we're talking about something serious here, but this is serious. This is my dog.
Very pretty dog. Oh,
my dog's name is Wang Tsai, and check this out. So I adopted her from the SPCA about 2 or 3 months ago. Nobody else wanted a big old hairy dog, and so she's about 7 years old. And I said, "Come live your final days with me. I'll walk you every day. I'll walk you every night." And so Wang Tsai's by my side 24 hours a day.
There's nothing like a shepherd, man. They're great dogs. You talk about
I think it's half shepherd.
You talk about alternatives to aggression. I want you to tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, in our field of hypnosis, a predominant viewpoint and approach has been regress to cause. Right? We have to regress them to cause. Now, there's a couple issues here. One, regression is actually a metaphor because the research shows we don't actually regress. We don't actually become 3 again. Life is a cause. Why did I smoke? Well, maybe there was some identifiable factor in why I smoked, probably because I copied my parents because they smoked. I mean, that's how we learn most things. But the reality is, by the time I was an adult and still smoking, my father had been dead for 15 years, and I continued to smoke. Life is a cause of why do we smoke, or why do we overeat, or whatever else. So I think it's real presumptuous to imagine that there's really only one cause, and that I, the great hypnotist, can be the one to discover it in 30 minutes, even though you spent your whole life trying to figure it out. But more importantly than all of those sorts of issues, the research actually doesn't show us that regression is most effective. In fact, you will find no research, zero. Scholar.google.com that shows regress to cause is the best approach. Now, this was the idea of Freud and Jenner in the 1800s, and they actually totally rejected it. Now, people who do regress to say, well, wait a minute, my clients get better and they have success. It's not really a testament to the method you're using. It's actually a testament to how awesome you are. It means that you're a loving, caring, giving, concerned individual. You've created awesome rapport, and your clients are actually getting better, not because you're using a great technique. They're getting better because you're an awesome person. So now imagine, and the research shows us that. The research shows us that the therapeutic technique is only about 15% of therapeutic efficacy. This is why people who do bad therapy actually can have good results, right? So the question for me then is, why wouldn't I want to increase my ability and use what the research shows are most effective techniques? And those are called, largely, we have 100 years of psychology. That's the one thing Freud did give us, was a taxonomy of studying academically cases to find out what actually works, which is why he discarded the idea of regression and abreaction, because he studied it and found it wasn't the most effective. But 100 years later, what we now have is a huge body of evidence, and we've really entered an era of research-based change work called third wave behavioralism, or contextual psychology. And this is really, it doesn't, in the field of psychotherapy, it doesn't always go by the word hypnosis. In fact, many times it doesn't. But we'll recognize the techniques as being purely hypnotic techniques. And many of these techniques are evidence-based, truly effective alternatives, so that if I was doing regress to cause, I can now actually, because I'm an awesome person, or you're an awesome person, you can actually even increase your success to a greater level, and I think you'll have more fun.
Is that what your class is going to be about?
My class is contextual hypnotherapy, and I am going to, the class is not about the alternative to regression to cause. It's about what is contextual psychology, and how can we use the methods that third wave behavioralism or contextual psychology teaches us are most effective to helping people make change. What people are going to leave with is, yes, an alternative to regress to cause, an alternative to a one-size-fits-all approach, and specific methods of actually training clients so that they don't need us anymore. My goal is not to get my client to come back to me. My goal is to get my client to not need me anymore. And creating autonomy and independence and long-term success is the result of contextual hypnotherapy.
Isn't there a phenomenal thing that happens? Some people say in order to create business, you've got to have return customers. But isn't there a phenomenal thing that happens when you create or help someone do it on their own, where they go out and they tell everybody about it, and all their friends then come and see you to find out how they can do it too? Yeah,
in private practice, my problem has not been getting more clients. My problem has been there's only one of me. At times I've had other hypnotists in my office, and that's helped. But I've always had, when my clients make the changes they came to me for, they refer all their friends and family to me, and I stay busier than I want to, and it's been going on like that since 2006.
And yet you find time to make MP3s for your clients and do YouTube videos and market and do all of this other stuff. How do you find that much time? How do you get it done? You
got to remember, when you see all those videos I made on YouTube, that's over a 10-year period. It's not like I made all those in a week. You say, oh, look at all those books you wrote. Look, I write a book every year or two, and everybody, most people want to write a book, right? What they don't do is they don't sit down and write 2,000 or 3,000 words a day. It takes 30 or 45 minutes. Make that your meditation, and you'll have your book done in a few months. So we all have the time to do all the things that I'm doing. I just am pretty good at actually getting it done. Do
you also get to spend time with your wife? And
yeah, I spend a ton of time with her, and it's great. Now she just started English school Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Just this week. So, spending a little less time, but we've been spending every day together, and it's great.
I can't wait till she learns more English, because I really want to sit down and chat with her too.
Well, I'm pretty good at Chinese, so.
I may want to talk about you, though.
My theory is she'll learn English one way or another, but
right.
I'll probably stop learning Chinese, so we're probably better off.
So I just want to say, Richard, we've got a couple more minutes left, just a few minutes. And if anyone has a question, this is the time to either put it in the chat room, go down to the bottom of your screen, and you can type that question in very quickly, or you can go over to the participants window and you can raise your hand. In a little bit, I will unmute everybody so we can all thank Richard for coming. And I see a question coming now.
Saying hi, ask a question.
That's from you. So Richard said, come on and ask a question. If you'd like to, we've got a couple of minutes, but in the meantime, tell me who you would recommend taking your course.
Sorry.
Who needs it? You reach the deepest needs of your clients, so reach the deepest needs now of hypnotists.
I think people who should take my course are the people who really are passionate about helping others. I'm not going to say this is what you should do. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a smorgasbord of choices to help really affect change in your clients. And so if you're looking for the ability to have an eclectic or a flexible approach, if you're looking to really create a scope of practice that isn't, going into traditional therapy and is solution focused, you should attend the class. I do and have focused for many years now on medical issues and medical hypnotherapy. By the way, this is what Erickson did. It's the cult of Milton Erickson, or the myth on the internet that's turned him into, the handshake whack job guy. He was a medical doctor who treated medical patients, and he wrote journal articles about medical recovery. And so I'm going to be teaching the techniques that are probably most beneficial to medical clients. I do a lot of pre and post-surgical preparation, oncology patients, and a lot of work with orthopedic patients. So I'm going to be focusing on applications of contextual hypnotherapy with medical patients. So if you're working at all in the field of medical hypnosis, or wish that you were more, you should attend the class.
I've also heard you say that the change occurs first, and the hypnosis is the ritual to solidify the change.
Yeah, if we do hypnosis correctly, again, before we actually even get them to close their eyes, we've already led them through a process conversationally of change. And sometimes they come to us having already made that change. What we're giving them is a ritual to ratify the change that has already been made. And so our real question is not, how do I get them to quit smoking because I've had their last cigarette by the time I have them close their eyes? The real question is, how do I keep them from smoking? Really, most of our work is relapse prevention.
If you want to find out more about that, Richard has a one-day course May 18th at Daytona Beach. That'll be the Friday of the conference, and it's techniques of contextual hypnotherapy. Tell us.
I like seeing people with their cameras on. So hi, Pearson. Hi, Rusty. Hi, Barb. Hi, Robert.
We're going to open those in just a moment, I promise. I just want to very quickly, before we open those so that everybody can hear you, tell us how to get in touch with you if someone wants to get in touch with you.
I'm actually easy to find. You can always Google my name. You can go to Amazon and look for my paperback books. Subliminalscience.com is my website. And probably the big news that's now out is that I have now taken over the administration of HPTI from Scott Sandlin and Richard Clark as of this week. And so you can always find me at hpti.org.
I didn't think that was the big news. Actually, I thought the big news was if you have Alexa in your house, say to Alexa, Alexa, who is Richard Nongard? And just listen to see what she has to say. I thought that was your big news of the week.
My big news of the week is Alexa knows who I am.
Alexa does know who he is, so it's
It
fun.
is confusing, though, because my daughter-in-law is named Alexa, so sometimes it can get a little weird around here.
I can imagine. So you know how to get a hold of Richard. You know where to find him in Daytona. And I really appreciate you joining us here tonight. He was ill today, but boy, you couldn't tell it. And I knew that you wouldn't be able to. It was.
I'm going to eat a big plate of food.
It was wonderful to chat with you. I'm going to let you go so you can eat. But before you leave, don't leave just yet. I would love to open these microphones so that everybody can give you a big send off, and remind everybody that this will be on the IMDHA IACT website if you want to see it. It will be in the virtual chapter section of Facebook. And Michael Watson will be back with me next week as we do this again next Wednesday night with Michael Watson. As a matter of fact, will be interviewed about his evolutionary hypnosis. I'll do the interviewing of him. And Don Pellis will join us also about acing smoking. I trust that will be about helping your clients not smoke rather than teaching us how to inhale or whatever it is. Acing smoking with Don Pellis. It'll be a fun week. I'm going to unmute these mics. Everybody say good night, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. It was great.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Great job.
Thanks, Richard. I hope you're better by Monday.
Thank you, Richard, very much. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week or at the virtual chapter meeting every Tuesday. Our virtual chapter meeting this week, let me just mute again real quick. Our virtual chapter meeting, second Tuesday of the month, always the month, is Anthony Jackwood will be with us. Second Tuesday meeting this week. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful time in Daytona.
Good job, Karen.
Thanks. Good night.